I'm Megan Skidmore, and welcome to the Beyond the Shadow of Doubt. I'm a woman, daughter, sister, spouse, mother, life coach, and person of faith on a mission to normalize asking questions and allowing doubts on a faith journey and all aspects of life. Join me as I bring this traditionally taboo topic out of the shadows of shame and into the light. I firmly believe we normalize through more talking and engaging in discussion. More talking peels back, exposes, and erases the layers of shame associated with asking questions and allowing doubts. When we are more authentic about our journey, we are more powerful because shame has no power in the face of authenticity. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Beyond the Shadow of Doubt. I'm Megan Skidmore, your host. I am thrilled to have my guest, Bree Borrowman, here today. Bree, you are a guest I have wanted to have on for quite some time. I'm so grateful to you for coming on. So welcome to the podcast today.
Thanks, Megan, and thanks for having me on. I really appreciate the invite and look forward to sharing stories and experiences with you. So I'm happy to be here.
Absolutely. And this is a special week of the year leading up to an important day. So I'm particularly grateful to have you. This is Transgender Awareness Week.
Yes, it is.
Every year, the middle of November is Transgender Awareness Week, and every 20th of November since 1999 is Transgender Day of Remembrance. And we'll get to that a little bit later on in our chat. But for now, I want my listeners to get to know the firecracker that is Bree. If you could only see Bree's lovely, bright red hair, I love it. And feel of her warmth and personality, you would see what I mean when I say firecracker. And I'm not kidding. Please just share with everybody all about you, your background. I know you have to be high spunk and high energy because you teach junior high, freshman level kiddos in art. Yes. Anyway, I'll let you share with everybody.
Well, thanks, Megan.
Sure.
And yes, I guess, whoa, firecracker, that's kind of fun.
It's appropriate.
I'll use that one in the future. And yeah, kind of, I don't know, I've always kind of had some high energy, but especially since getting rid of shame and guilt that I lived with for so long. I don't know, I just feel so happy anymore. Being able to feel whole and feel like myself, rather than carrying around so much heavy weight and a burden and guilt. And so, yeah, I guess I'm kind of a firecracker.
That is beautifully. That's beautifully.
Well, so a little background.
Sure.
So I was born Christmas Day, 1957. I was born in and grew up in Bountiful, Utah.
Mm-hmm.
So very, very conservative area, especially back, 60s and 70s. We knew everybody on the block. You knew when a car went up and down the road, you knew who it was. And yeah, conservative enough that you knew what your neighbors were doing, and you made sure they were doing what they were supposed to do.
Oh dear. Oh goodness.
Pretty tight-knit little community. I remember all the stores were always closed on Sunday. Mm-hmm. It was pretty conservative, religious, LDS community.
For sure.
And that was okay when I was little, because when you're just out playing with friends, it didn't really matter so much. I don't remember a lot about grade school, but I do remember when we went out for recess, I would always either swing on the swings or jump rope with the girls, maybe play on the monkey bars. But I don't think I'm quite sure I never ever played football or baseball or whatever the boys were playing. Mm-hmm. I was always just more comfortable with the girls. I don't know. The boys always wanted to have a contest. I'm like, what's the contest? We're in grade school and we're just out kicking a ball around. What's the big deal? So anyway, I was always just more comfortable in a collection of girls. I did have some friends that were boys, but I think I probably spent more time with the girls. Junior high, adolescence, that period of life when things are just so wonderful,
Yeah.
but not. It's
Yeah, that's a
when I
good way
think
to
I
put it.
first realized differences. I started to dislike what I saw in the mirror when I got ready in the morning to go to school. Although the time that I did spend looking in the mirror, what I saw had to be perfect. Junior high and high school, I would spend half an hour on my hair alone. It had to be perfect. It had to be in place, and nobody touched it. Not, you couldn't touch my hair during the day because it was just perfect, or as perfect as I could make it. And
Mhm.
that was for me, I think, my way of being as pretty as I could be at
Okay.
that time in my life. I remember also in junior high, I had the opportunity to play a musical instrument. You know, we had band in junior high, and I picked the flute of all things because I wanted to play the flute. Well, of course, only girls play the flute,
Hmm.
but I felt more comfortable in that flute section in the band with all the girls than I think anywhere else in junior high. I just, I was, I was in my element playing flute with all the girls, and I loved it. And
That's
I
great.
still, from time to time, I've met or been in touch with some of the girls from the flute section even today, and it brings back fond memories.
That is great.
Up through high school, I dealt with things as best I could. Again, I spent so much time getting ready in the morning just to make everything perfect. Although again, I once I was done and ready and things were perfect, I don't think I looked in the mirror again the rest of the day. Not that I
Hmm.
didn't think my looks were ugly. It just wasn't what they were supposed to be. So I didn't like looking in the mirror and seeing myself male or masculine. It was just off, and I just felt uncomfortable with it, but I didn't know how to explain it or what it
Okay.
was, or certainly how to deal with it. And there was no way back in the 70s I was ever going to tell anybody about it. So I kind of just kept it to myself. I found some ways to deal with those feelings of just being uncomfortable with my physical self. I developed some pretty good coping skills. Lots of hobbies. I had lots of hobbies all the time, and I was always busy doing stuff. One thing that really helped me a lot was riding bicycle, of all things.
Okay.
So, all the boy friends were into football and basketball and whatever else, and you had to be big and you had to be strong, and I wasn't. I was the smallest kid in school. So I didn't have to be big and I didn't have to have friends to go ride a bicycle. I could go off on the bike and I could ride, and I could be at peace with the world.
For sure.
Yeah, and so I rode a lot of bicycle. And that was probably one of the best coping skills that I had growing up. And interestingly enough, used that my whole life. So in periods of my life, as things changed and I got busy, or I had a job or I worked or whatever, I got busy, and then maybe I didn't write as much, but I would always come back to it. It just seemed like to be the best therapy for me.
Hmm.
Back then you didn't go to therapy.
Yeah.
You didn't have a therapist. It
True.
was a bad thing to say you were seeing a psychiatrist. You didn't admit to that kind of stuff, even if you were. And so I kind of had to find my own therapy, and being active with some hobbies, but also riding bicycle was really helpful for me. Friends growing up, some friends that were boys, but again, usually only one or two at a time. I think I probably had more friends that were girls than I had friends that were boys. And not only did I feel more comfortable with them, but I also, reflecting back, looking on that, I think I was a little bit envious and jealous of the girls. And so I think being around them helped kind of that femininity rub off on me a little bit.
Hmm.
I just needed that contact because I don't know, I needed that. And so
Your feminine energy
it
connected
was
with
a little
their.
bit of envy. I
Okay.
wanted to be that,
Okay.
not what I was. And so I think that was partly the reason why I felt so comfortable around them. My association in the church, pretty normal. My family, yeah, yes and no. My mother was probably the most devout out of the whole family. My father kind of just, well, it's not bad, so I might as well go,
Okay.
but wasn't really devout so much. It's interesting. I have five siblings, one brother and four sisters, and I don't really remember my siblings at church.
Okay.
So my family, we grew up in a very religious community, and I mean, yes, we went to church, but I just don't know that we were that committed.
Okay.
So anyway, I probably was more so than any of them. I did went through all the motions. 12 years old, Aaronic priesthood, deacon, teacher, priest, just like you're supposed to. And I think part of that, again, looking back, I think part of that, like I said, it's because I was supposed to. It was just kind of the expectations put on me to fit into that social mold that was so expected. I just and in such a conservative community, if I had done something different, everybody would have known. This was back in the day when somebody came home from their mission early and everybody knew why. That,
Okay.
oh, they're
Yeah.
horrible and wicked and they did something wrong. And if
Yeah.
you didn't get your Eagle Scout, people
Yeah.
wondered what was wrong with why aren't you an Eagle
Yeah.
Scout? And so I pretty
Right.
much had to just keep my real feelings at bay. I literally, as we say, in the closet.
Yeah.
And I just had to learn to deal with it. And luckily, I think I dealt with it well enough, all things considered. So lived in that area my whole life. I've been in South Davis County, the Bountiful area, my whole life. So, and for better or for worse, I think not only, I think back on that, not only my experience dealing with gender incongruence and dysphoria, but the lack of diversity, I don't know. It's interesting that I don't feel like I was ever prejudiced because I never had an experience with anything else. I didn't have a
Interesting.
chance to develop any prejudices because there was no diversity. There was no opportunity to have a bad experience with anybody or a good one. So that was,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that's kind of a negative part that I have to growing up. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
a
So
that's a
that would have made it
brief
even
outline of me.
that would have made it even harder to identify yourself as somebody different, somebody very much out of the norm that existed in your community.
Yeah, I think that was part of it because there was no diversity in the community. It would
Hmm.
be, yeah, it would be hard to be something that was different. And
Yeah.
so yeah, I felt I was kind of forced into the social norms.
Yeah. So that takes us to kind of your late teens, early 20s ish. I don't know for sure. I'm assuming you served an LDS mission, which is what the expectation, I guess, would have been at the time.
Yes, it was. Well, of course,
Yeah.
when you hit that age, everybody just
Yeah.
starts talking about it. Oh, so you're going on a mission. Yeah. And again, well, back up a little bit. I did have some experiences where I did share some of my feelings with priesthood leadership.
Oh, you
And
did.
like so many people, oh, just be faithful, read your scriptures, pray a lot,
Hmm.
it'll be okay. And then you got to missionary age, and it was, well, if you go out on a mission, and you serve faithfully, you're going to be cured.
Wow.
And so part of it was one, the social expectation. I mean, every active 18-year-old male was preparing for a mission or should be. And if
Yeah.
you weren't, they wondered what horrible sin you'd committed that you couldn't go.
Yeah.
Not whether you wanted to or not,
Yeah.
but also
Yeah.
just the thought of, well, okay, maybe if I go out and serve for 2 years, this incongruence and dysphoria will go away. And so, yeah, I went. I loved my mission, actually. I had the opportunity to serve in Northern England.
Oh, wow.
Spent most of my time pretty close to Scotland. So there was a
Mhm.
lot of that Northern England Scottish influence.
Mhm.
Fell in love with the people, fell in love with the country. I think,
That's fabulous.
yeah, I think at least half of me was born in England. Yeah, loved it. So
Great.
had what I considered a successful
Mhm.
mission, and mostly because not so much that I came away a different person or I really strengthened my testimony as much as I just fell in love with the English people and the English culture. And yeah, it was so anyway.
But you were able to, for lack of a better word, contain or at least hold down, ignore, keep inside those feelings that you'd been feeling all this time still.
Yes, because I was so busy.
Okay.
What was really helpful for me was to just be busy. As
Okay.
long as my hands and my brain were busy doing something,
Mm-hmm.
then I didn't have the time to think about the incongruence or the dysphoria. And so, yeah, that was one of my coping skills. I just stayed busy all the time. It's interesting that soon after I came home and got married, my wife Kit always called me the Energizer Bunny. I was just go, 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 go. And little did she know that's because I was using that to deal with my incongruence and dysphoria. I mean, she knows now, but it was like go, go, go. And that was probably my best coping mechanism, is to just be busy every waking moment. So yeah, while I was on the mission, I could keep it at bay. I could deal with it because yeah, I was
Yeah.
busy all the time. So
Would you
yeah,
say that has shifted now? I mean, we'll get to your, I'm kind of skipping ahead, but that's really fascinating to me that that was a coping skill for you. Because you were talking about how when I called you a firecracker, you're like, yeah, because I've shed all the shame and the weight and carrying who inside who I really am. I mean, would you say you've slowed down a little bit
yes, I have.
and
So
still
and
energetic?
and because yes, it's true, I still am, but
That's crazy.
true. The dysphoria and the incongruence that I was dealing with, whenever that came to the surface,
Mhm.
it brought with it shame and guilt. Because just even thinking about the fact that my gender was out of sync, that there was, it brought with it shame. Oh no, I no, that's just wrong to even think about that. And so when that thought or that incongruent, when I wasn't thinking about that,
Mhm.
then I didn't feel the shame or the guilt. It's one of those things that, when your brain is, when my brain anyway, when my brain was kind of a little bit focused on the incongruence and the dysphoria, it felt like, well, I don't know if it was the social construct or the church or what it was, but I felt it was wrong. It was a bad thing for me to think about
Mhm.
maybe being female.
Yeah.
And so that brought about the shame and guilt. So I just had to keep my brain and my body active all the time to keep that from coming into my head, or then I would deal with shame and guilt. And now that I know that it's not wrong,
Yeah.
now that I know that it's not a bad thing, it's okay that, well, and I don't think about it anymore. I get up in the morning and I'm myself and I get ready for the day. And this is me.
That has to be
And so,
such a relief.
I don't have to deal with that shame and guilt anymore. So I don't have to stay busy 24/7.
That's remarkable. That's really, that's so beautiful. I love hearing the joy in your voice, the sincerity, the genuineness. I think one thing that we could all be better citizens, be better members of whatever faith community we reside in. We need more voices, authentic voices, and yours. I can just tell this is you. This is what brings you joy. This is what brings you closer to, your higher power, to your higher purpose, capital P. And so I appreciate you sharing this with all of us. You served an LDS mission. You've already mentioned you came home and you got married. You were still living life as a male, presenting as male. So share with those listening. I know you had children. Tell us what happened, what changed, what brought you to the point where
did it go from there?
where
Yeah.
you were like, I've got to live authentically. I have
Okay.
got to be who I know I am inside.
Okay. Well, thanks for that. And I appreciate your kind compliment. I really do. That was
Absolutely.
and it's fitting. I do just finally feel so great. But so yes, came home from a mission, and of course, when I left the mission field, you have the interview with the mission president, and they give you counsel and advice. And of course, back in the late 70s, that counsel and advice was get married and have a family because that's what you need to do.
Yep.
Interestingly enough, sharing how I felt again with priesthood leadership, I was told, well, you just need to find a really good woman and marry her and she'll fix you.
So you shared how you were feeling with your mission president
And my bishop when I came home.
and your bishop when you came home. Wow.
Yeah, and
Okay.
they're both like, you just need to find a good woman.
Ooh.
And I'm like, okay. I mean, what else? What else was there?
I
So, right? You
Yeah,
just need
I
to
guess
find a
they were
good
going
woman,
off
and
of their limited. Yeah.
you'll you'll want to be a man if you have a good woman. But anyway, well, so moving forward, a year after I came home, I found a good woman. I found the most amazing woman, and it's taken me quite a while, I guess, to realize that, because even though I thought I found an amazing woman back then, she didn't heal me. I was still dealing with this incongruence and this dysphoria. As one, as one, as wonderful as she was, and as wonderful as she still is, because for 50 years of my life, we thought the cure was to overcome it and be male. And for me, that wasn't the cure. So I had to it took me most of my life to figure out what the cure was. Anyway, yes, my most amazing wife, Kit, we've been married for 43 years.
Congratulations.
So got married just a little more than a year after I came home. But again, right? Oh, getting married, you're going to be cured. You're going to be healed. You're going to be okay. When I found out that wasn't the case, then of course, right then I fell back on these coping skills, which is when my amazing wife, Kit, started calling me the Energizer Bunny. Just go, go, go. I was busy all the time.
Yeah.
At one time, Kit said, if you get another hobby, you're going to have to give one up. And I went, no, I can't do that. I mean, I just kind of panicked. It's like, I have all these hobbies to keep me busy because I knew without a doubt that if anybody ever found out about my true identity, I would lose them. And I had this preconceived notion with Kit as well, that if Kit knew the
Hmm.
real me, how could she live with me if I identified female?
Yeah.
She'd leave me.
So
I
you
would
did not
lose
tell
her.
her. You did not tell her at that time.
I couldn't tell
Yeah.
her. And I know a lot of people look at that and say, oh, you deceived her, you lied to her. And it's like,
Hmm.
I did not intentionally deceive her, and she agrees.
Yeah. You were in
She didn't
survival.
she didn't ever come to me and say, hey, are you transgender? And I said, no. But regardless, right? Yes, like you said, it was survival.
Yeah.
I I hid as much as I could, but dealing with that incongruence and that dysphoria, it's impossible to not have those feelings come to the surface every now and then.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I dealt with it as best I could. One of my hobbies, as weird as it might sound, was building houses by hand.
Wow.
So I have literally built 8 homes from the ground up,
No.
all by myself.
Are you kidding me?
So, and that was just one thing to keep busy.
Oh my
It's just,
goodness, Bree.
yeah, it's
Oh
like,
my
okay.
goodness.
So, yeah, I built homes just as a hobby because it's something that would keep me busy all the time other than work. I worked a full-time job and had other hobbies, but I also, as a hobby, built houses.
Hmm.
It would take me quite a while to build a house, but that was okay because it kept me busy
Yeah, definitely.
every minute of the day, and it kept my mind busy. Well, what's the next thing we've got to do? So yeah, building homes was another coping mechanism. So I've done it all.
Yes,
It's
you
kind of
have.
fun to go into Lowe's or Home Depot now and talk to a salesperson and just kind of rattle them a little bit. And they're like, how do you know all this?
That's funny.
I'm
That's
like,
really great.
well, I don't know, but aren't you glad I do? So, and over
So,
the years, yeah, that was something that helped out. I'm still stayed active in the church because that's what was expected.
hmm.
I always felt like if I did anything that was out of the social expectations, somebody would start to question
Hmm.
or wonder what was different.
Yeah.
And and I always felt like I was looking over my shoulder, like somebody's gonna catch me, something's gonna happen, and they're gonna discover my true identity, and then my whole world is gonna unravel. It's gonna fall apart, and I'm gonna lose everything. So not only did I live with shame and guilt, I started living with fear.
It sounds like very much you were living your life for others' expectations, for social norms, constructs, whatever you want to call it. And that was a long time that you did that. What
Yes, it was.
what happened? Tell us about when you decided I'm going to start living my life for me.
Well, and
That is
so
no small thing. That is not to
no,
be
and
taken
right.
lightly.
So and it's not just one event. It's
Okay.
it's a journey. And for me, and I think for most people, it's transitioning is not a one day thing. It's not like, oh, this happened. Okay, I'm going to be my authentic self. And so it is a process that you go through. So and I'll share that, but I want to share one little side note.
Of
I don't
course.
remember where I was. Met I had some friends who introduced me to a friend of theirs, a new acquaintance, and they said to me, so Bree, tell us, when was it, or how long of how when did you transition? And I said, well, when did you? And they're like, what? And I said, we're all in a state of transitioning.
Wow.
Everybody
That
is different today than they were 10 years ago.
wow. That's so
You're
true.
different than you were when you were a teenager. you're different than when you were 25. Everybody transitions in their life. So
That
it's not
is
so
true.
life in itself is a journey of transitioning from one type of individual to, I mean, we all change all the time.
Bree, you are spot on.
And so, and I just said, well, what do you mean? When did you
Yeah.
transition? And they're like, what? And I said, well, you're different now than you were 10 years ago. You're transitioning. Then they kind of laughed and I said, I know what you mean. I really do. And I said, well, so I started this part of my journey, this part of my transition journey
Mhm.
about 4 years ago. And it's been a 4 year process and it will continue to be a process. I'm not done transitioning. I will be different 5 years from now or 10 years from now than I am now. So it's all part of the same journey. Or I look at it as chapters in a book. I started a new chapter in my book about 4 years ago, and I'm writing this chapter.
Mm-hmm.
And there are good chapters and there are bad chapters in my book. And some of them you hope you get to the end of the chapter really quickly. And some of them you hope the chapter keeps going for a while. And so, yes, but that this part of my journey started about 4 years ago. So that means that for about 30, 35 years of marriage and probably about 45 years of my life, I did just what you said. I did what other people expected of me. I fit the mold. I fit the norm. I followed social expectations because I was so afraid of anybody ever finding out about my secret self. And again, that led to fear. So now I'm dealing with shame and guilt and fear that somebody's going to find out. And that thought of losing everything, that ups the survival ante. Survival became the ultimate. The problem for me, as I mentioned, it's really hard to deal with gender incongruence and gender dysphoria and not have it come to the surface every now and then. So there would be times that I would be able to be on my own and I could dress or present a little more feminine. I remember on occasion that I would use some of Kit's makeup and I would play with my makeup a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
For a long time in our married life, we were pretty close to the same size and I could fit into her clothes. And so there were occasions that if I was on my own, I just had to have a feeling of what it was like if I was presenting as what I perceived was female. And
Mm-hmm.
I know it's a huge spectrum, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah, it
we
is.
kind of class people. Oh, that's male and that's female, and it's like no, it's not really. So,
Yeah.
but
I
I
get you.
what I perceived what I would be if I was female, and so yes, and I know right there. I got to the point where there were times that I could travel out of town and I could spend some time presenting the way I wanted to, dress the way I wanted to, making a partial attempt at my makeup or whatever. And it's interesting that most people that I know, well, everybody that I know that deals with gender incongruence and gender dysphoria have had occasions where they have tried to fill that void in their life, that feeling of what it would be like, even if it's only for a few minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know occasions when by the time I put on some clothes and some makeup and styled my hair a little differently, I might have had an hour or 2 hours before I had to take it off so I didn't get caught. But it was worth the hour just to feel like myself, even if it was only an hour.
Mm.
So yeah, it's amazing what I would go through to just feel myself, even for just a brief hour. But I did. So,
and even that is taking a bit of a risk.
Yes, it
but
is.
That's how meaningful it was to you to be able to do that.
It really is. But the drive, the incongruence and the dysphoria is strong enough, which is right. It's when people say, "Oh, the old adage, oh, it's a choice," and it's like, no, you don't understand this drive.
Yeah.
The risk that I would take just to have some makeup on for an hour, at the thought of maybe even getting caught.
Yeah.
And the risk of getting caught. Right. So yeah, it's compelling. So long story short, later years, not too long ago, now it's been 11 years now. I had occasion to travel out of town. And while I was out of town, I would take a day or two and I would present female. I would be my authentic self. And it felt so good. And it felt good enough that I took some pictures. Well, of course, like you do, sometimes those pictures you end up putting on social media. And I did. And went on. Nobody I knew. I mean, like most, I created a whole new persona, new name, new heritage. I was a female that lived in England. Of course, I could do the England thing because I'd spent a mission there. Yeah. So I knew about the culture. I knew some of the towns. I knew anyway.
Okay.
I put myself on social media as a completely different person. And that was really helpful. And then so much shame and guilt about the whole thing. And it's what I call the splurge and purge. So the dysphoria gets so strong that you get the wig, you get the makeup, you get the clothes, you dress up, you present, and then you feel so guilty and so wicked and so horrible that you take it and throw it all away and vow never to do it again.
Wow.
And that was where I found myself. I would have occasion where I needed to look like myself when I looked in the mirror, and I needed to feel like myself. And I would have that occasion and I would dress up, and then I would feel horrible about the whole thing, horribly wicked and sinful and guilty, and I would throw it all away and vow never to do it again. But even though you vow never to do it again, you can't do it. So you continue to hide. You're literally living life hiding in secret and hoping nobody ever catches you. Even when I was out of town and dressed, I always was looking over my shoulder, afraid that somebody that knew me would bump into me and my whole life would fall apart. And so even then, I lived in fear.
Yeah.
Not too long ago, about 4 years ago, I had occasion to meet with a priesthood leader. That priesthood leader had a laptop on their desk, and they turned it around and showed me a picture of me.
Oh my goodness.
Dressed up. They had found the picture I had taken and put on social media 7 years earlier.
Oh my goodness.
And they said, "Is this you?" And I said, "No, it's not me." Oh my goodness. What I feared, somebody found my picture.
I am a proud member of the Dialogue Podcast Network. The Dialogue Podcast Network features shows by Latter-day Saints who wish to bring their faith into dialogue with the larger stream of world religious thought and with human experience as a whole, and to foster artistic and scholarly achievement based on their cultural heritage. For more information, go to dialoguejournal.com/podcasts. Hopeful Spaces is a Dallas Hope Charities component of Hopeful Discussions, sponsored by Mercedes-Benz Financial Services USA. It's a free monthly parent, ally, or caregiver support group facilitated by Megan Skidmore Coaching. Email chc@dallashopecharities.org for more info. Visit meganskidmorecoaching.com to find this podcast and additional free resources, including the link for a complimentary coaching session. Follow me on Facebook or Instagram for more, or to send me a DM. Help the podcast grow. Please follow, review, and share with a friend.